As a UFC fighter, hard work, blood, and sweat fighting killers up the rankings usually earns you your shot at the top. Usually. But sometimes all it takes is the right hype or a viral moment, or let's just be honest here, just being Dana White's favorite. Whether it's undeserved title shots, cherry-picked matchmaking, or being given unjustified amounts of UFC media promotion to get ahead, there's a growing conversation around what fans and Tony Ferguson call Dana White privilege.
I'm gonna be real. You got this shit handed to you. You got Dana White privilege.
Thanks, Dana.
And so today, we're counting down the top 5 fighters with the most Dana White privilege. The ones who have had their name stamped in Dana White's VIP list to get ahead of the rest. Let's get into it. In at number 5, we've got the man who literally inspired this video, Michael Chandler. And why, might you ask? Because when Tony Ferguson coined the phrase Dana White privilege, he wasn't just trying to get the fans' attention and go viral. He was speaking directly to Michael Chandler in front of Dana White. And honestly, one of the most accurate things Tony Ferguson has said, period. Michael Chandler came into the UFC as a former Bellator champion, so no doubt a talented fighter. He's explosive, entertaining, and experienced in MMA. But from the moment he arrived, it just felt like Dana White rolled out the red carpet for him. Because as we know, most new signings start with unranked opponents or as fight night openers, but Chandler, co-main event on a Conor McGregor pay-per-view, where he did knock out Dan Hooker in under 3 minutes, so it was definitely impressive, no doubt. But what followed that was just even more telling for the Dana White privilege, because one fight in and he was given a vacant lightweight title shot against Charles Oliveira. No long grind through the top 10, no winning streak, just bang, instant title opportunity over guys like Beneil Dariush and Islam Makhachev, especially, with both of these guys having long win streaks that made them more validated for a title shot. And since then, Chandler has gone just 2-5 in the UFC. Don't get me wrong, his fights are exciting as he always brings bloody wars, which makes him great promotionally, but when it comes to actually winning, he's struggled. And for over a few years now, Dana White and Michael Chandler have pushed the McGregor fight, hyping it up through the Ultimate Fighter series, through interviews and call-outs, but now it's just hard to see that fight happening at all. But still, Chandler remains a featured name, constantly kept in the promotional mix despite a very poor UFC record. That just doesn't justify title shots or red panty nights, which have both been pushed for by Dana White in his UFC tenure. And that's realistically just not hype. That's Dana White privilege in full effect. Coming in at number 4 on our list of fighters blessed with Dana White privilege, it's Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, a fighter who's exploded in popularity and, let's be honest, has been strategically guided every step of the way. Now, Paddy's not just a prospect, he's a personality, he's got the hair, he's got the Scouse accent.
I'm a Scouser. We don't get knocked out. I take that all day.
He checks every box for marketability. And Dana White, I mean, he just saw the dollar signs from day one, to be fair. But here's the reality. Paddy has been protected. Every UFC opponent so far has been carefully chosen. Borderline tailor-made to give him a platform to shine. Luigi Vendramini, who's a fun striker, but completely vulnerable defensively, especially to Paddy's game. Then Kazula Vargas, who's just old and has a poor ground game. And then Jordan Levitt, who's just the worst Paddy Pimblett. These aren't killers in the division. They are calculated picks, and that's fine when you're building a new star, but it's how the UFC treated Paddy after those fights that really put him on this list. Because then came Jared Gordon, and this is where the wheels just nearly fell off the bloody hype train. That fight was not close. Let's be real here. Jared Gordon outlanded Paddy, controlled the pace, and had him reacting the entire fight. And yet somehow the judges handed Paddy a unanimous decision win here. And instead of acknowledging the controversy, Dana White doubled down, called it a win, and just moved on. If that was anyone else on the prelims, they'd just be sent straight back to the drawing board, straight back to square one. But Paddy, he got the UFC PR shield around him and kept it moving like nothing bloody happened. And even after being exposed with the cardio issues, the poor damn strike defense, and questionable fight IQ in that fight, the UFC still positions him like the next big thing. And yes, granted, he absolutely annihilated Michael Chandler, but Michael Chandler, as we've previously just spoken about, is 2-5 in the UFC and is past his prime, unlike the actual tests in the division that are in the way of him becoming a champion. Look, Paddy Pimblett is talented without a doubt, but if we're talking about fighters being handed opportunities through cherry-picked matchmaking and timing, Paddy Pimblett is a textbook case of Dana White privilege in action under that condition. So let's see what happens when he finally faces someone that's a killer like Max Holloway, or especially Ilia Topuria. No cherry picking, no padding, just a real test. Coming in at number 3, the pioneer of Dana White privilege himself, Brock Lesnar. Now, I already know some of you guys are going to say he's a former champion, he's beat legit guys, he's sold pay-per-views out his ass. And yes, that's all true. But if we're talking about Dana White privilege, Brock Lesnar had the UFC on speed dial before he even deserved to be in the conversation. And to give that context, let's rewind the clock, because Brock Lesnar entered the UFC in 2008 with a 1-0 pro record. That's it. 1 win over a guy with a losing record. Most fighters would be fighting on the regional scene for years at that point, but not Brock Lesnar. He just jumped straight into the UFC and didn't just have any debut. He got former heavyweight champion Frank Mir for his debut. That is just completely wild. Dana White just rolled out the red carpet for a complete rookie because of his name value. He was a WWE superstar, big box office potential, big fucking scary dude. So it was the perfect concoction for making some money. But in his UFC debut, he goes and loses the fight to Frank Mir via a knee bar. But guess what? The UFC just immediately gives him another high profile shot in Heath Herring, a long-time veteran, and he wins that, and then bang. Just 3 fights into his MMA career, he's fighting Randy Couture for the UFC heavyweight damn title. Just let that sink in. Brock Lesnar had a 2-1 record and was fighting for a world championship. No one else in UFC history has gotten a title shot that early, and that's just not about rankings, clearly. That's not about merit either. That's pure Dana White privilege. Now, credit where it's due, he did beat Randy Couture and then smash Frank Mir in the rematch, but even when Brock Lesnar was gone for years, dealing with health issues and then stepping back into WWE, Dana kept the door wide open for him. And let's not forget UFC 200, his comeback fight, Brock Lesnar versus Mark Hunt. Brock returned after nearly 5 years out, gets co-main event billing on a massive card, then tests positive for PEDs after the fight, and somehow walks away with just a slap on the wrist. The fight result got completely overturned, sure, but no suspension, no major fallout, and Dana never shut the door on bringing him back.
Well, he's got to get back into the USADA pool.
What are the chances he faces the winner of DC Stipe?
What the fuck?
The rules simply just didn't apply to Brock Lesnar the way they do for everyone else, because he sold tickets, he brought eyeballs, and Dana White was more than happy to bend the sport's damn logic to make that happen. In at number 2, we've got the man who defies logic by somehow getting more title shots than he can get basic fights. We have got Colby Chaos Covington. Now, Colby's entire UFC career is basically a masterclass in how to turn volume, trash talk, and a damn red MAGA hat into repeated main events and title fights. Colby's like the guy in your group project who shows up once, then just shouts at everyone, and still gets an A because the teacher thinks he's just like got potential or something. But when it comes to Dana White privilege specifically, oh yeah, Colby wasn't just benefiting from it, he was practically fucking sponsored by it. After Colby lost to Kamaru Usman in 2021, Colby's next fight was against Jorge Masvidal, who hadn't won in 2 damn years, who he then dominated 50-45, sure, but from a rankings perspective, it was like a step sideways at best. So he wins that, and then out of nowhere, gets booked for a 3rd title shot, this time against Leon Edwards at UFC 296. But here's the thing. Colby hadn't fought in over 20 months. 0 fights in between, no wins over contenders like Bilal, remember the decision, Muhammad, or any ranked opposition wins bar Masvidal at this point. He just sat out and got rewarded with a title shot for nothing. Meanwhile, guys on win streaks like Bilal were completely passed over. And when people asked Dana why, his response was pretty simple. Oh, Colby's the backup, he showed up, he made weight. Come on, man, that's like inviting your drunk uncle to your wedding, and not because he belongs there, it's just because he makes it damn interesting. And yes, Colby made that press conference damn interesting.
No, I'm bringing you to 7th layer. Hell, we'll say what's up to your dad while we're there.
But that's not how rankings are supposed to work. That's just Dana White privilege in plain damn sight. And what makes it even crazier is that Colby's brand is built on being hated. The trash talk, the MAGA gimmick, the lawsuits, the beefs, all of it creates chaos. And Dana, well, he loves it because it sells. So Colby gets protected, he gets promoted, and he gets shots that most fighters would kill for. And let's be real here, if anyone else in the top 5 sat out for almost 2 years with no wins over any relevant contenders, they'd be removed from the rankings, not fighting for a damn belt. Colby is a top tier example of what happens when Dana White picks you as the guy. Whether fans love him or hate him, he kept getting those title shots, not based on momentum, but on marketability. That's not competition, that's favoritism, and that's exactly why Colby Covington lands at number 2 on this list. Now this might surprise you, but first up on the honorable mentions list is Conor McNugget McGregor. Now look, when we talk about Conor and Dana White privilege, we're talking about a tale of 2 different careers here, because early on, he earned everything. He tore through featherweight. He finished Dustin Poirier. He finished Max Holloway. He finished Chad Mendes and then flatlined Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. That wasn't hype. That was just straight legacy. That was a real, violent, validated climb to the top. But after winning the featherweight title, Conor never defended any belt. Not at 145, not at 155. Then he lost to Nate Diaz on short notice, choked out, just no excuses. The UFC let him jump straight to lightweight for a title shot against Eddie Alvarez without a single fight in the division. Now that is privilege. Then he disappears for nearly 2 years, comes back, and is immediately handed a title fight against Khabib Nurmagomedov, who was undefeated, undisputed, and on a dominant run, especially compared to Conor McGregor. So there was no tune-up, no win streak, just marketing power and Dana's full backing. And even now, after back-to-back losses, a snapped leg, and years of inactivity, Dana White is still treating him like he's just 1 win away from another title shot. And let's be honest, if anyone else had this track record, they'd be out of the rankings by now, out of the spotlight, and honestly, probably out of the UFC. But Conor McGregor, he's still going to be on every damn poster and every bloody social media post if he is announcing some form of fight, whether it's real or not. So yes, he's had some Dana White privilege, but here's why he's only an honorable mention. Because he earned the superstardom first. He fought killers early, no cherry picking, no shortcuts. The privilege came after he became the biggest star in the sport, not before, and that's more than you can say for a lot of names higher on this list. And to my other honorable mention, which will definitely be controversial, it's Jon Jones. Now let's get this straight. Jon Jones' early UFC run, there's just no privilege needed there. He dominated the light heavyweight division like no one else. He destroyed Shogun Rua, destroyed Rampage Jackson, destroyed Lyoto Machida, destroyed Vitor Belfort, destroyed Daniel Cormier. I mean, he just destroyed all the legends. The youngest UFC champion of all time with one of the most stacked resumes in the sport. So when Jon made the move to heavyweight after 3 years off, people were definitely skeptical. But when he beat Cyril Gane and claimed the vacant title at UFC 285 within a round, honestly, well, that wasn't Dana White privilege. That was just Jon Jones being Jon Jones. You don't need to earn a tune-up when your track record looks like a Hall of Fame reel already in the light heavyweight division. But here's where the privilege does show up, and that's the Stipe Miocic fight. Jon was terribly inactive since winning the belt, and the UFC froze the whole damn division just to set up a legacy fight with Stipe, who hadn't fought in over 3 years himself. Meanwhile, Tom Aspinall, the guy who Jones should have been fighting, had to sit on the sidelines as an interim champion. So obviously he has some Dana White privilege here, but why is he just an honorable mention? Because unlike the others on this list, he actually cleaned out a division the hard way. The privilege came later, when the UFC bent over backwards to accommodate him with the Stipe fight and protect him from the Aspinall fight. But at light heavyweight, Jon Jones built the empire before he sat on that throne. And coming in at number 1, the undefeated, except when he was defeated twice, Sugar Sean O'Malley. Now let's be clear, Sean's got skills, man. His striking is slick, he's marketable as hell, and the dude's walkout has more production value than half the UFC fucking Apex cards. But we're not talking about talent here, we're talking about Dana White privilege here, and no one has benefited from it more than Sean O'Malley. While most up-and-comers like Sean O'Malley at the time were fighting gritty veterans and stylistic nightmares for them, Sean was just served a long line of opponents who were stylistically perfect for him. Eddie Wineland, a veteran, but just way past his prime. Chris Matinho, a literal short-notice fucking punching bag. Julian Paiva, undersized bantamweight with absolutely no power. And how can we forget the Pedro Munoz fight, the first time Sean faced a ranked opponent, and it ended in a no contest before anything even damn happened. Then comes Petr Yan. The UFC throws him in the deep end, and respectfully, he did win that fight, but he got a split decision, which many thought he did lose. And what happens? Instantly gets a title shot against Aljamain Sterling straight afterwards. One ranked win. That's all it took. And let's talk about that title shot. Dana White practically gift wrapped that fight in a sugar-coated promo package. He even admitted it. O'Malley versus Aljo is a fight that makes sense. It just sells. This wasn't about merit. This was about marketing. And Sean knew it. You know, he's smart. He leaned into it. I mean, he even joked about being the UFC's golden child, and he wasn't damn lying. He beat Aljo fair and square. It was a fantastic finish. But then came the reality check at the Sphere. Merab Dvalishvili handed Sean O'Malley a pretty clear loss. Merab controlled the fight and outworked Sean to become the champion, and most fighters would have had to have regrouped, rebuild, and fight another fighter to earn another shot, but not Sean O'Malley. Dana White fast-tracked him into having an undeserved rematch at UFC 316. And the UFC pushed the rematch like it was some epic comeback story, but it was just a clear attempt to keep Sean O'Malley in the spotlight, even after being convincingly beaten. And the fans knew it, the analysts knew it, and Merab had already proven he was the better fighter, but the UFC still gave Sean another shot. That's not about rankings, merit, or fairness. That's just Dana White privilege in its most obvious form.
Sean, some people say you're getting something called Dana White privilege, that you're getting a quick rematch without really proving yourself as a champ. What do you think about that?
Thanks, Dana.
All the fans, all the analysts were against it. I was against it. It's just clear over promotion and shortcuts based on star power, not on performance. And Sean O'Malley isn't just a fighter who benefited from it. He's the one who's had more Dana White privilege than anyone else on this roster. So these are my top 5 fighters with the most Dana White privilege, from cherry-picked matchups to undeserved title shots and unjustified levels of UFC promotion. These are the fighters who are simply elevated beyond what they actually earned inside the cage. Some had the charisma, had the connections, and were earning the UFC a shit ton of money, but all of them were given chances that 95% of the roster were never given. And that's what truly defines Dana White privilege. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't already, check out this video just here on the screen. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.